Hello, Star Trek fans, and welcome to the Rebinge Deep Space Nine podcast. My name is Kim.
And my name is James.
And we're watching Star Trek Deep Space Nine from the beginning, one episode at a time. Welcome back to the podcast. Today we are on Season 2, Episode 11, entitled Rivals. This episode aired January 2nd, 1994. We finally moved to 1994.
Whoa. Almost halfway through the 90s.
Almost, but still not halfway through the season at episode 11. Almost.
There were a lot of episodes in these seasons.
Yeah. Before we get into this episode, is there anything from the previous podcast that you would like to correct?
No, it was perfect.
As usual. What was the last episode?
Yes, it was about flaky refugees.
The flaky people. The skin flakes. It should have been called the skin flakes.
That would be a very unappealing name for an episode.
Right? It's so gross. All right, let's get started. In the cold open, we see an older alien woman talking to a slick younger guy with thick dark hair. She's telling him about her plans for her nest egg and an investment she intends to make. She tells him all about the investment, saying she has insider knowledge, and then she says she can't believe she's telling him all of this, but she feels like she's known him forever. Uh-oh.
She's also dressed very elegantly.
She is. He takes her hand and says, "When hearts are in sympathy, time collapses."
Oh, isn't that sweet?
Yeah. Then Odo grabs the guy from behind and heads to security with him. The guy says he's done nothing wrong, and the woman says it's true, we were just talking. But Odo says, "You were talking, madam. He was listening."
That did seem to be an accurate summary of what was happening.
Yes. Odo has been keeping an eye on him, and he says an elderly couple has filed a complaint because he convinced them to invest all of their money in his business, and then it folded. On the entire walk to security, the guy keeps explaining everything away and trying to schmooze Odo a little bit. It doesn't work, of course, and Odo calls him a con man and locks him in a cell.
And says he's putting him in a cell because he's stolen Ted Danson's hair from 1986.
Wow, that's quite a reference. It's a little darker, though, than Ted Danson's hair.
It does look like his
90s.
style, though, from the Cheers era.
Yeah. A little bit Sam Malone.
Exactly.
We learn his name is Martus Mazur, and he is a refugee from the El-Aurian system. And we also learn that the El-Aurians are listeners, and people like to talk to them, obviously revealing some secrets along the way.
That would be a very useful skill for a scam artist.
It would be. And then we cue the theme song.
That was a very uneventful opening, really.
It was, and very short. Martus is played by a familiar face, of course, because that's what we do on Star Trek. It's Chris Sarandon, who was in a number of movies in the 70s and appeared on TV shows like Felicity, ER, and Chicago Hope. And also, he was the voice of Jack in The Nightmare Before Christmas.
Oh, so yet another storied career.
Yes. After the theme, we find that Miles has built what looks like a slightly futuristic racquetball court.
So he built himself a racquetball court. So he is remodeling the station. Didn't I say in Cardassians how I bet Miles is a general contractor and he just built the conference room in his spare time?
With the sleeves rolled up.
Yeah.
Miles enters the new court dressed in very loose-fitting, slightly shabby clothes, but he seems quite happy until he sees Julian is already in the new court. He's annoyed pretty quickly, and he rolls his eyes at the sight of Julian's skin-tight tracksuit.
Yes. Yeah, Julian is dressed like he's about to be in a bobsleigh team.
Oh, yeah, that is what it looks like.
Yeah, one of the guys on the luge.
Yeah. Well, apparently, he was captain of the team at Starfleet Medical Academy. Of course he was. I think the contrast in their outfits is intended to emphasize that Miles is a working man stereotype, sort of a rough and ready kind of guy, while Julian is a young, highly educated guy who is good at everything and a know-it-all. That was my assessment of this scene.
Well, they were the sector champions, and they won against the Vulcans.
Yeah, he does his usual bragging, and Miles is unimpressed until they start to play, and Julian does a fancy jump off the wall and hits a serve that stuns Miles. Nobody likes a show-off.
Miles's face in this tells it all. I feel bad for him. He obviously just wants to go and play a game, and basically a pro turns up.
Well, yeah, and he's barged his way into Miles's court. He was expecting to play with some other people. I don't think he expected Julian to play.
Yeah, and it's different if you play with a friend who's a really, really good player. I played squash against a friend who was a competition standard and absolutely just kicked my ass. But it was kind of fun because they were just so good, it was funny.
Yeah, but this is more like Miles has gone down to the park to play tennis.
Yeah.
And found that Roger Federer was on the court.
Just hanging out.
Yeah. In his custom-made white outfit and headband and his shoes with his initials on it, the whole thing. And Miles is there, in his sweats going, who are you?
Right. And once again, we learn about sports are still important. There would be baseball.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure there would be cricket too, because with the speed of cricket, the Vulcans, I bet, would love it.
Yeah.
Although it might be a bit too exciting and fast for them.
I don't know.
Sorry, cricket fans. We do see a little of the old Julian here. I mean, he clearly can't help himself, because he's kind of rude where he says to Miles, some of the toughest players I've come up against didn't really know what they were doing. And he does seem to catch himself that he said something rude. He quickly adds to the end, formally. So perhaps he's learning?
I don't know. We're going to talk about that as we go. This isn't the only incident.
Okay.
Back in the jail cells, Martus is disturbed by his cellmate, who is a snoring alien dressed in very raggedy clothes. He wakes him up to stop the snoring and finds him to be a very old alien in very rough shape. His eyes are red, his hair's all crazy, and the alien says he lost everything because of this little purple ball that he's holding, which seems to be some kind of gambling device.
I thought he was the Cowardly Lion from Wizard of Oz.
He does look a little bit like that. It lights up, and then it fades, and he says he lost again. But then he does it one more time, and this time it lights up brightly, and he says he won. But then he dies, which is very strange. Martus is a little disgusted by the guy, but he takes the gambling device from him before he calls for the guard. It's unclear what he's won or lost exactly with this little ball, but Martus is interested in it.
So Martus just boosted the toy from a fellow cellmate.
Yeah.
Wouldn't Odo have, taken away any items that they had on them?
Yeah, we've covered this before, that they're not emptying the pockets of the people before they put them in the cells. Maybe he looked at it and decided it wasn't dangerous. I don't know.
Suspicious.
It was like in the Vortex, where they didn't take the necklace that the guy had on away from him.
Oh, that's right.
Now we go to Miles's quarters, and he stumbles in, beaten and sweaty.
Yay, Keiko!
He tells Keiko that Bashir beat him badly, and he continues to just hate on Bashir, calling him smug, which is accurate. He thinks he's just out of shape, although Keiko basically tells him he's old. Not her finest moment as a spouse, but sometimes the truth is the truth, I suppose.
And plus, I'm pretty sure Miles takes off his shirt at this point to demonstrate that, well, he is a little middle-aged. He doesn't exactly have the chiseled physique.
No, he does not. We go to the Replimat, and Julian, still in his stupid outfit, is telling Dax that he was worried Miles was going to have a heart attack when they were playing. Julian says he tried to stop the game, but Miles wouldn't allow it, and now he wants a rematch. But he doesn't want to play him again because he felt like he was humiliating him. This is where he needs some leadership on how to treat people. I mean, you start by trying to be less smug.
Well, he does seem to be very poor at actual human interactions.
He does, yeah.
This, I thought, did seem very genuine in he was talking to Dax because he really didn't understand, what was going on. So, in some ways, it's almost kind of a stereotype of the disconnect between the very smart person and their inability to react to people correctly on, a normal human interaction level.
Right.
But it's good that he's talking to Dax, actually trying to understand what was going on.
Yeah, but is he also just bragging?
Probably.
Yeah. Back in the cell, Martus is playing with the purple gambling toy, and he keeps winning. And by winning, I mean it just lights up and plays a happy tune. I don't know that he's winning anything. Odo comes in and says he's free to go because the couple has decided not to press charges.
Probably because his hair was just too perfect.
So he heads straight to Quark's and orders a Prosecco, which Quark asks if he's going to pay for it with charm, so Quark is on to him.
If you noticed, Morn was actually at the bar doing a double or nothing with Quark.
The dice game?
Yeah.
Yeah, they were playing a little game of dice.
Or whatever the Ferengi equivalent of dice are.
Yeah, they're like flat chips, but they were shaking them like dice. Anyway, he plays the little dice game with Martus, which, of course, Martus wins. So Quark pours him some pink liquid from a pitcher under the counter, which is not the Prosecco I was expecting.
That didn't look like a particular one I've ever seen before.
No, or warm. Ooh. Not fizzy. Total failure. Quark quotes the 47th rule of acquisition at him that you shouldn't trust a man wearing a better suit than your own. He's like, you're either a con artist or covering up your lack of money. And Quark says, it's probably both.
I would disagree with Quark there. I thought Quark's suit looked a lot nattier than Martus's.
It was certainly better fitted.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's hard to tell if the fabric is better in, it's not a super detailed picture.
In standard def, you can't really tell how well tailored it is.
Well, it's not so much tailored as it is the type of fabric. The quality of the fabric is pretty much lost in standard def. But anyway, they negotiate about the purple ball for a while, and Quark tries to buy it, but the guy ultimately keeps it because it keeps coming up winning for him. This feels like a condemnation of handheld games from the 80s.
Oh.
That were so pointless, but just so fun.
Well, also, I think it points to how Quark is attracted to games of chance. Do you think that's a Ferengi trait, or do you think that's just specific to Quark?
I don't know, because if he wanted it for something to do with the bar, it wasn't clear how you would win or lose anything. Like, how would Quark benefit from it?
Yeah.
I don't know. This was a little bit hand-wavy about this purple ball.
So, do you think it's really just a magic 8-ball?
Maybe. Maybe. It just comes up and says, you won, and then you just do it again.
I think they're pointing here towards the two of them are kind of cut from the same cloth.
Yes, for sure. Martus exits Quark's to the promenade, just as Miles comes jogging past, obviously trying to get in shape. And he sees a new mark of a woman closing up her shop. Since her husband died, her heart's not in running the shop. He says it's better to have someone next to you. And then he picks up a purple crystal from the shelf and hands it to her, and she says, you understand. I did not understand this scene in the slightest, but I imagine there's something to what Odo said about people just wanting to talk to him or feeling like they could relate to him or something. That thing with the crystal was so weird.
I think, that was the intention of it. Shows that, he can pick up on things.
Yeah.
He's a good con man.
Apparently.
Maybe it's that the El-Aurians are a little bit like the Beta Zeds. They can, maybe they don't have full, telepathy, but they're like Diana, they're empaths.
Yeah.
So they can pick up on sort of the vibes of people and try and appeal to their nature or what they want or what they're thinking. And that's what he did here.
I don't know. There's a couple of things in this episode where they don't really explain it in great detail. And I would say how this listening thing works or how he relates to people, they don't explain it at all. But it makes me think that perhaps he's just like a natural bartender. I mean, you already talked about his Sam Malone haircut.
Oh.
It's all coming together.
Oh, gosh. Do you think that could be like an in-joke of make him look like Sam Malone?
No, I don't think so. I think that's a stretch.
Do you think they could have cut parts of this episode out for time? Maybe there was more explanation, or do you think it was something that was just glossed over? Hand wavy.
I think it was a hand-wavy Star Trek episode.
Okay.
Now we go back to the racquetball court, and Julian appears to be trying to lose on purpose, which is never a good idea. Miles gets very angry and stomps out like a child.
Yeah, he gets pretty annoyed at that.
Julian needs some emotional intelligence training.
Oh.
He could ask the computer for that.
Yeah. Why didn't they get a Beta Z in to help? Like Diana.
Yeah, he needs a counselor.
Yeah.
Oh, man. It totally needs a ship's counselor.
Yep.
Gas station counselor. Out on the promenade, Quark is up in arms and complaining to Odo because Martus has turned the woman's shop from earlier into Club Martus, and people are streaming into the front door. How did he build that so fast? It took like 2 minutes between the last scene when he met the woman who was closing up her shop, and now he's built a whole club, and he's even got like flashing lights on the front door.
Well, I think because he's very good at convincing people to help.
Okay, there you go. Although, no, that's not what they are. They're good listeners.
True.
I feel like we're going to keep hitting the hand-wavy part of this story.
Well, I think he got it built quick because he used the money that he stole from those old people. So he paid cash for everything, and all the general contractors worked very quickly.
Okay. After the ad break, Quark is complaining to Sisko now that he has an exclusive gambling contract which he paid considerably for. Sisko is like, a few bribes to the Cardassians doesn't really equate to a contract in the eyes of the Federation. Quark says, Martus is a con artist and a crook, and Sisko says, one more won't make much difference, which is pretty funny.
And also shows Sisko knows exactly what Quark is.
For sure. Quark says Sisko owes him because he begged him to stay when he arrived, and Sisko says, I didn't beg you. I blackmailed you.
Oh.
Which is totally right from episode 1.
I like how Sisko isn't under any personal illusions about how he gets the job done. Right. He knows what works, and he uses what he can. This is something I love about the character.
Meanwhile, Martus has offered Rom a quarter partnership in Club Martus, and Rom is always looking for a better deal, as we know.
I'm pretty sure he just did that to annoy Quark.
He probably. Quark yells after him that Rom shaves the latinum, and Rom says, I do not. Well, not much.
I think this exposition shows that there are more depths to Rom. I mean, we've started to see this build up that Rom isn't just, his idiot brother. Mm-hmm. There's a little bit more depth. Like, Rom has some of his own Ferengi-isms, as it were.
He has his own aspirations.
Yeah.
But also, he's so short-sighted, Like, why would this guy be really giving you a good deal? He's obviously up to something.
Right.
Yeah. Now we go inside Club Martus, and it looks like a casino where there are a bunch of those purple globes instead of slot machines. The globes are much bigger than the original one, and the way it all works is very unclear.
Yes, there's no explanation of what exactly happens and how people make or lose money. But it's jumping, and everyone seems very happy.
Yes, but nobody's, putting coins in. I don't know. The whole thing is strange.
I prefer Dabo, personally.
I liked Tango. What was it? Not Tango. What was the game with Dax? Tongo.
Oh.
I like Tongo because there was dice and there was a wheel and there were cards. It was very complicated.
Yeah. Move Along Home is the best game in the DS9 universe.
Oh my God. The older woman from the beginning of the episode is there and tells Martus that her investment bid from earlier was accepted, but now she needs an additional investor in her scheme. The payout potential is so large that Martus says he's going to help.
Yeah, it's an asteroid mining scheme.
Yes. Then he takes a waitress on his lap and we go off the rails with the treatment of women. Great. After all, this is her place of work. So do we care? I care. But does anybody else care? No. He quickly stands up when he sees the woman whose shop he replaced. He grabs some drinks and makes a toast with her and then gives her a fancy earring, seeming to propose. It sounds here like she still owns the place, and he's maybe working for her or they're working together. I mean, he made the comment about how it's more fun or it's better to work alongside someone, so I guess he's
it's
working
a partnership
alongside her. Yeah. Except it's unclear if he's invested or, right, because it's her shop.
With him, I assume she's the one who's invested all the money.
Yeah, I suppose that's true.
So the woman from earlier, that's called Alicia?
Yeah.
Did that set off any alarms for you?
This part, yes. Not earlier, but yes. When she's asking for more money, then you start going, okay, wait a minute.
Hold on, yeah.
Yeah. In Ops, Kira and Dax are working on something when the computer beeps. Dax is shocked because she's been searching for a program for weeks. She says it was buried in the deep code level, which is an interesting phrase.
Sigh. Maybe it was in the doghouse.
Oh my God. She makes a point of saying how lucky she was to find it. Okay.
Yes, because search algorithms are totally based on luck.
Oh my God.
Couldn't they train that computer that's in the doghouse to find things that they've lost? I mean, it feeds on computer energy.
Dogs can sniff stuff out.
Yeah, exactly.
We go back to Miles and Julian playing racquetball, and Miles is laying flat on the floor, covered in sweat. He slipped on the ball and knocked himself out, which Julian says he's never seen happen before. Then Julian gets called away, but before he leaves, he says he's not really enjoying the game as much as he used to, so Miles should find another opponent.
Shouldn't Bashir check him for a concussion?
Yeah, he didn't do that at all. He just said, oh, you hit your head.
And not, yeah.
He should have. Now Miles enters Quark's, which is quite empty.
It looks deserted.
Yeah. He's still wearing his workout outfit of sloppy shorts and a red sweatshirt, which was drenched in sweat a minute ago. Ugh. Take a shower, Chief.
I don't want to know what that smells like in there.
Ugh, it's just gross. That reminds me of someone I used to work with who would come into the office after a workout covered in sweat and just sit down at his desk. Do people not know they smell? So gross.
That might just fall under they don't care.
Ugh. Anyway, Quark is complaining that all of his customers are at Club Martus. He pretends to listen to Miles, trying to play this game of, I can listen too, just like Martus. I have that skill, but he's not really listening, which is why it's so funny.
Especially when we know that Quark can actually listen.
Well, yeah, I mean, he's shown it before.
Right.
But really, at this point, he's distracted while Miles is telling a story about racquetball.
Yeah.
But eventually, he starts scheming about creating a competition sports bar.
That was a smart idea.
So I guess he listened. He heard it. He heard the topic. We go back to ops, and Kira is annoyed because she says her terminal self-destructed and she lost an evaluation report she'd been working on for weeks. I'd like to point out that a terminal would not be storing your report, so I'm not thrilled with how we are glossing over technology this week in favor of purple plastic toys.
That works some magical way.
Ugh. Cisco is suddenly curious about a rash of bad luck that people are having. The infirmary is full of people having peculiar accidents, like falling or walking into turbolift doors. Dax is like, I'm having a great day. Sometimes Dax.
Yes.
He's pretty funny. And they all laugh at how silly this is. And then Kira walks away. She walks off camera and proceeds to fall down because we just hear a thud.
So the bad luck is affecting her, too.
Yes, but not Dax because Dax is having a great day.
Yep.
Lots of good luck going around in Club Martus as everyone hits the jackpot at once. Martus freaks out and asks Rom if there's any way he can blame Rom for it, which was funny.
That's very Quark.
It was. And Rom's like, I don't think so. But meanwhile, over in Quark's, luck seems to have turned around because Quark now is playing with his dice again and they're coming up blue, which apparently is good. Quark is doing some marketing of a racquetball match between Bashir and Julian as the fight of the century.
Yes, he's drumming up a big crowd.
He is. And thank God Julian is now back in his uniform and not in that leotard anymore. And Miles is not wearing shorts, so that's an improvement. Quark tricked Bashir and Miles both into coming to the bar, calling it the grudge match of the galaxy. And then he says half the house's winnings will be donated to the Bajoran Fund for Orphans, so now they can't say no, especially with the monks standing there ready to accept the donations.
That was very well planned. I like the way he manipulated the two of them, and he even had the monks on hand. I mean,
he
that was very well planned for Quark. I mean, I don't think he's normally that well organized.
Well, yeah, that's true.
I guess he's desperate at this point.
He is. And he says the fight will be tomorrow at 1200 hours. And then he nods in Martus's direction because the luck has shifted across the hall.
Ah.
And also Dax's luck has shifted too because the file she found is lost again. Did the computer forget where it was? What is happening in this episode is so stupid.
They really don't have a good handle on this technology stuff.
You know, they should try uploading it somewhere.
Oh, yeah.
That's a word I know. Upload.
Yeah. Please, just stop talking about computers. Just get the writers off that.
Or get somebody who knows about computers.
Yeah. Has she checked the deep code level for it?
But now they are curious about this string of bad luck and starting to figure out that something is happening.
Yeah.
Kira still thinks it's all just a coincidence. And she's okay from her fall earlier, apparently.
Yeah, they're starting to figure out that something is up.
Yeah.
Very Star Trek.
We go back down to Club Martus, and the crowd has abandoned the place, which is weird because everyone just won big a few minutes ago. That's what would attract the crowds, not make everybody leave.
Yeah.
Rom is following Martus around, and he's talking endlessly about his childhood, and Martus snaps at him to get him just to stop talking. And then he once again sexually harasses a female worker at his establishment, but this time the owner appears, who, remember her? We kind of got engaged to her earlier with a fancy earring.
Yeah.
And she is not amused. It would be nice if we took any kind of real interest in women in the workplace. I mean, there's just endless stereotypes at play. It's frustrating to watch. Martus remembers he has one other option, and he tracks down that older woman again and gives her the $10K that she was looking for. She takes the money and leaves.
So we know this is going to go badly.
Yeah, should have gotten a receipt for that because his luck is still in the crapper. When he tries one of the gambling devices, he loses again. Doesn't look good.
The machine is giving him failure messages.
Yes.
He's loser.
Now we go to Miles' quarters, and he's getting dressed for his match, and he's talking to himself about strategy. Keiko is handing him his clothes and his sweatbands. It's very Rocky, and she's being very supportive.
Yes, I like what Keiko is doing.
She puts a headband on his head scented with her perfume and tells him to kick his butt. Very cute.
Oh, that's very good. That's a very supportive partner.
Yeah, well, she wasn't too supportive earlier, so it's good she turned around. But if only they'd played some rousing music and had a montage of him training because, you know, even Rocky had a montage.
That would have been perfect.
Yes, they could have shown him running. It would have been great.
Yeah.
That is a total missed opportunity for a montage.
Yes. That could have been one of the greats.
In the infirmary, Bashir is back in his leotard doing push-ups. And I thought it was full of patients, but there's nobody there.
Well, he just sent them all out because he wanted to get ready for the game.
I suppose. Quark comes in with some medicinal brew from the monks that is supposed to impart great energy and vigor. Quark's high-waisted aqua pants are so distracting in the scene. I kept looking at them going, oh my God, those are really bad. Bashir, I mean, he's worn them before, but I don't know. There's something about the way it was shot in this scene. It was really
particularly disturbing.
Yeah, in contrast with the ridiculous leotard. Bashir is interested in the drink, but he does a quick analysis of the contents when Quark tells him, you have to drink it all in one go in order for it to work. He finds that it's an anesthetic, and Quark is clearly trying to fix the match. But Quark says everyone has bet on Bashir, so if he wins, there are no profits. And then he tries a guilt approach, saying, but the children and their blankets. And Bashir chases him away.
I like how Julian actually shows some backbone here. He deals with Quark the correct way. You don't listen to any of his crap. You don't get caught up in his plans.
Yes.
Ferengi are not to be negotiated with. He just sends him out. Like, good for you, Julian.
Back in Ops, Dax has found solar neutrinos are not spinning like they're supposed to. Half should be spinning clockwise and half counterclockwise, but instead, inside the station, they are not evenly matched. She doesn't know what it means, but it is strange. Maybe, okay, I feel like I say this a lot, but maybe we should consider that this is related to the new person on the station with the new thing that appeared when all the stuff started, but we never think that it's the new thing or the new person.
Do you think it could be that? No. I think you're making a jump in assumptions there.
Every week. Well, the so-called grudge match starts with a point to O'Brien. Everyone in Quark's is watching it on a big screen and cheering. I mean, it's not really a big screen.
No, most sports bars have way better setups.
It probably seemed like a very big screen in January 1994.
And plus, wouldn't this be some kind of projected 3D display? I think that would be much better.
Yeah, something else would have been cool. I guess budget.
Of course, the cost of the special effects for that was probably quite prohibitive.
I suppose. But they could have just shown one shot and then just gone inside the racquetball court.
Yeah.
Well, meanwhile, the woman who Martus gave the money to has disappeared. Shocker. And Rom is complaining that he hasn't gotten paid either. So yeah, everyone is ripping off everyone else in this episode. And Rom says he's going back to Quark's because at least there he was being cheated by family, which was pretty funny.
Remember, exploitation begins at home.
That's right. On the racquetball court, Bashir is getting his butt kicked by Miles, which makes Miles very suspicious. He cuts the transmission and tells Julian that something is off. Meanwhile, Quark uses that time to reopen betting back in the bar.
Good for Quark. And in the overview of the crowd watching the game, Morn, of course, is in there, right in the middle.
Of course.
I expect he's hoping it's going to turn into a mob at some point.
His favorite thing.
Yeah.
Miles tries some tests with a ball and finds that no matter what he does, the ball always comes right back to him. So things are just off normal.
Yeah. That's a bit I always remember in this episode of Miles throwing the ball like anywhere. And it doesn't matter because he keeps on coming back to him, no matter how ridiculous the bouncing off walls or whatever happens.
And when Julian does it, it will not come back to him.
Yeah. And well, when Julian throws it and it bounces back and lands in Miles's hand.
Yeah. They call ops, and Sisko and Dax come down to witness the weirdness with the ball. Dax says someone or something on the station is distorting the laws of probability, and she has an idea of how to track down the source. And then next, we are following Dax's tricorder into Club Martus, discovering that the purple machines are causing the trouble. Now Dax and Sisko follow her tricorder to Club Martus, discovering that the purple machines are causing the trouble. They realize that the small version of the gambling devices was altering the laws of probability in a small radius, but since Martus replicated much larger versions for his club, it's impacting the whole station. They pull out their phasers and just destroy them, which was great. I mean, we solved a problem by just obliterating it.
Yeah.
They should have let Kira do it. Anytime they've done that, they should always let Kira shoot it, because in season 1, she wanted to shoot things all the time and they never let her.
And she obviously enjoys it, so...
Exactly. She gets a thrill out of it.
Yeah.
Well, Odo appears at this moment and arrests Martus, saying the elderly couple has had a change of heart.
Oh, his luck's really run out this time.
Yeah, he is in trouble. Now we go to the jail cells, and Martus is happy to see the woman that he gave money to arrive. But it turns out she is also under arrest for running her own scams, which Quark uncovered. Quark and Martus then negotiate a payoff to get Martus off the station. And they settle on less than half of what Martus wanted. One cute line here was when Martus says, he still has his dignity. And Quark says, dignity and an empty sack is worth the sack. Rule of acquisition number 109. The end.
Martus could almost be a Ferengi.
Almost. But he wasn't so focused on profit.
Yeah.
Okay, well, end of the episode. Do you have any over-analysis?
Yes, I do. First of all, was this episode one of those very soft TV network approaches at addressing gambling addiction?
It was pretty weak, if that was the point.
Yeah, I'll go with that. I thought maybe it was, but it was very weak.
Yeah. It seemed like it was more about the con artists, conning the con artists.
Yeah, this did seem like very much a classic con artist type of show.
Yeah.
Okay, next thing. Have they checked the station to see if Domino is there? You know, the X-Men character?
Oh, is that the lucky one?
Yeah. It's also kind of funny because I looked this up and the first appearance of Domino was about a year before this episode aired. So I'm wondering if there was a little cross-pollination of ideas here.
Yeah, maybe.
Sort of picking up on a popular character in another medium.
Although even that wasn't really deeply explored. They could have explored the luck thing a little bit more than they did.
It was sort of there.
A lot of things that were just kind of hand-wavy and shallow here. Yeah.
Right.
Especially since there was just no clue to what you won or lost with that machine.
Right. It was just lit up or it didn't.
Yeah.
Next, don't you think it was a really bad idea for Dax and Cisco to use their phasers on these machines that they didn't actually know what was inside them or how they worked?
Of course.
And Martus even said, I think it has an internal power source. What if it was plutonium powered? Yeah, we just broke all the machines open and poisoned pretty much the whole station. We're going to have to now have a clean out for the next year and a half.
I mean, maybe there's a limited number of dangerous things that can come from a replicator. I don't know.
Or the replicator would give it a warning if it was dangerous.
I don't know. Yeah, that's not good.
I mean, I think it was just kind of lucky that their plan of just shooting them didn't blow up the whole station.
Especially since Dax's luck was not good at that point. We never really established.
Oh, that's right. Her luck had flipped in the opposite direction.
Cisco's luck was good or bad. But yeah.
Huh.
They should have got Kira to shoot it.
Yeah. You go down there, Kira. We'll get in a shuttle and hide behind the moon.
Oh, jeez. We've gone all the way back to episode 2.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay. And finally.
Yes.
What happened to the original machine? Surely Dax would want to study this thing.
Oh. Yeah, we never saw it again.
That was again hand-wavy.
Yeah. And what happened to the monks and the orphans? Hopefully Quark made a donation, but I have my doubts.
Yeah, I don't think Quark's a person you want to trust with charitable donations. So Martus replicated larger versions of the small machine without actually having any idea how they worked. And the replicators didn't throw up any warnings or errors?
Well, we've certainly never established that the replicator does any kind of judgment calls about whether or not you should be replicating what you're replicating.
Yeah.
So it would have been weird if it had done that.
Okay.
And also, then the episode would have ended, so...
Right after he got out of jail, it would have ended pretty quickly.
Yes. What did you think of the relationship here between Julian and Miles? It's still contentious and kind of a bummer.
Yeah.
But what did you think?
Well, things seemed to change at the end, where the two of them had a problem to solve that was affecting both of them. Miles couldn't lose, Julian couldn't hit anything. And then they discover that there's this odd happening where the ball comes to Miles no matter what.
Yeah.
So that seemed to be a building moment for the two of them. They had something actually in common for a change that didn't divide them.
Yeah, for the first time it was a problem they were actually trying to solve together.
Yeah.
That's a good point. I mean, Dax, Cisco, and Kira were working together, but we never see Miles and Julian working together. Mm-hmm. And there was still this whole thing with Miles having a real chip on his shoulder about him. I mean, look, Bashir makes that happen at the same time. But still, it's not all that fun to watch. It wasn't quite as bad in this episode, and maybe that's why, because it ended better.
Yeah, well, it's playing up the working man stereotype.
Yeah.
The working man and the college kid kind of trope, which has been around forever in TV.
That's true. Okay, well, do you have any other overanalysis?
No, I think that wraps it up, apart from don't let Quark handle anything to do with charitable contributions.
Well, yeah, that's just good advice. All right, let's go to Women in the Future. And we made it all the way to episode 11 before I started complaining about sexual harassment in the workplace in this season. So I guess that's an upgrade from last season.
That's true. That's a way of looking at the positive.
Exactly. And also, at least the woman was also a con artist and wasn't just a sucker. That would have been just another annoying stereotype.
Yes, which was kind of funny because she took the con man for a ride on a scheme that Quark saw through immediately, which was kind of funny.
Yes, that's true. But not much else really happening with the female characters. I mean, we had Dax and Kira, but boy, I bet screen time was less than 5 minutes with the two of them, so wasn't much with them.
Dax did figure it out.
I was going to say, Dax did solve the mystery of the purple globes, but nothing else really to talk about. All right, well, let's go to rating then. Thumbs up, thumbs down, or neutral. What is your rating?
I'm giving it a neutral because it felt kind of like one of those filler episodes. There wasn't a lot of body to it. Everything in it really was something you've seen before in another show or seen time and again. It didn't feel terribly special.
Yeah, it really didn't. I agree. I wrote down rating, meh. It wasn't bad.
And the interesting bits, they didn't even really cover. The way luck was affected by the way was it neutrinos were spinning?
Yeah, the solar neutrinos.
Yeah, and where the device came from or anything like that, they sort of glossed over the interesting parts of it, I would say.
Well, and we started to give less detail about each episode to try to reduce the length of the episode of the podcast, but also to reduce the burden of this task. And coincidentally, since we've done that, we've had these almost frivolous episodes.
Right.
And there just hasn't been much to say about them. So when I try to pull the things out that are actually interesting or important to the story, there ends up not being very much at all. And in a couple of scenes, it's like, well, just one sentence. I actually could have skipped that scene. Yeah. And that's a little frustrating for a show that's only 46 minutes. You don't really want things that are just throwaway.
Right.
Yes, maybe one or two scenes, but, it shouldn't be half the episode.
Yes.
It just wasn't that interesting.
Yeah.
They could have ended it back with the purple device. Like, wouldn't it have been funny if the purple device was rolling onto some ship or, having some luck of its own as it moved on to the next phase? But instead, we never even saw it. So they didn't even wrap their own story up.
Oh, there's so many better things you could have done with that. The purple device itself could have been, like, say, intelligent of it was moving on to its next owner.
Well, it didn't need to be intelligent.
Oh, just alive.
Well, it would have just been luck.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah.
Right?
That's funny. That
rolled into somebody's hands.
Yeah.
I really feel quite often like they missed the opportunity to add another dimension or another character to the story.
Yeah.
Like with invasive procedures, they should have used the storm as a character and they didn't. And here they could have used that device more as a character and they didn't. And that's just disappointing when there's not enough to really hold up the whole episode.
Well, what you could have done is you could have had the whole casino without any of the purple devices and just had his luck being run on those purple devices. And if you like, the one single globe spreading out across the whole station.
Or it could have just had one gigantic one, like when you go to the casinos in Vegas where they have the car.
Yeah.
And just,
that's
spinning.
Funny. Yeah.
Yeah.
And have it driving Quark nuts.
Oh, man. Yeah, well.
I guess we weren't on the writing staff then.
I don't think there's much else to say. All right. Well, I think we have exhausted all that we can say about this not very exciting episode.
I think that we've actually exceeded the length of the episode.
Barely. All right. That is it for Season 2, Episode 11. Come back next week for Episode 12. In the meantime, if you'd like to tell us your own overanalysis of this or any episode, or if you just want to say something nice, please email us at ReBingeIT@gmail.com or tweet us at ReBingeIT. Also, check us out on talkthroughmedia.com. You can leave feedback for us there and listen to all of our other awesome podcasts.
Thanks for joining us on the Rebinge Deep Space Nine podcast.
That's it for me.
And that's it for me.
Oh my God, we're so close to the end. How many helicopters do we have to have?
Oh my God, yeah, right. It'll be an hour and a half recording, but there'll only actually be 45 minutes of total time. Finally.
Only
no airplanes.
An hour and 7 minutes.
20 minutes of that is waiting for bloody airplanes.